In this video I will give you 5 tips to improve your photography. Some of them are camera things and some of them are just photography things. Stay tuned to find out what those are. Hi there, my name is Peter Forsgaard and I am an Olympus visionary and a professional photographer from Helsinki, Finland. And before we start talking about those 5 tips, please consider subscribing to my channel and hit that bell so you get notified when there is a new video online. My channel is all about you getting to be a better photographer and about Olympus gear. And those 2 topics are covered in this video. Take advantage of the Digital Teleconverter. When you're out there shooting and sometimes you feel that your lens is not long enough, then you can turn on the Digital Teleconverter. And you turn the Digital Teleconverter on from the menu, or you can assign it to a custom button. On the M10 Mark IV there is already a button assigned for the teleconverter. I think it's a very handy way of getting more reach to your lens. Let's say that you don't have enough reach on your lens, then just press the teleconverter button and you will have double amount of reach on your lens. And it will have a lot less field of view. The only downside on this one is that you need to have JPEG as your image format to the camera to record the narrower depth of field. Narrower depth of field. What am I saying? Narrower field of view. If you have RAW, it will show you the cropped image, but it will record the whole image. And I think that's not the best way to make a feature, that you only can use it with RAW, in JPEG. And then if you want to crop the RAW or use the digital converter with RAW images, you need to do it in post anyways. So if you're using JPEG, then the digital teleconverter is pretty handy, but with RAW it's so-so. And I think that's a good way of getting some more reach to your lens. Let's say that you're walking around with a 12 to 45mm f4 Pro lens like I mostly do, then I can have a 90mm, which is a equivalent to 180mm in full frame terms. So I can get that field of view and I can crop it the way I want, and then I can do it in post to the post-production. I know it should be so that it will crop the RAW file too, but it unfortunately doesn't. But it's a good addition if you want some more reach to your lens. Do not worry about the metering modes. I think metering modes are obsolete in the days of digital photography, especially with mirrorless cameras. You can use histogram or flag colors to get your exposure spot on. You don't need the spot meter, you don't need any other center weight. You can use the ESP on every situation and then just fire away, and be sure not to clip your highlight. Just use the histogram or the flag colors to get your exposure correct. I use ESP 100%, never use the other metering modes in my Olympus camera in any situation. Flag colors and histogram is the way. Use exposure shift. In Olympus cameras you can change the exposure shift. What does this mean? Let's say that you set this to +1 stop. It will overexpose your images by 1 stop. And this, usually when you're making images using ETTR, this is a handy way to have your camera kind of make the image a bit lighter than it would do with if you didn't have any exposure compensation. Then you might have less need to make exposure compensation on your back wheel on your Olympus camera. It will ETTR automatically a bit better. But of course this doesn't work on every situation, but in most situations this is the best and the fastest way to get the correct exposure. You can set it to half stop or +1, or it depends on your style. Do not be afraid of use the P mode. Usually everybody says that okay, the only way is to go manual mode or aperture priority, but that's not true. P mode can be very handy because you can override the base exposure that you get. And if you're using ETTR and exposure shift, like I said in the previous tip, you have a pretty good starting point for your exposure. And then set the exposure compensation to back wheel, and you can compensate the exposure. You can adjust the aperture and shutter speed too. And you will get this PS sign on on your screen, and you know that it will be overriding, but you will have a better starting point. PE mode could be the way to go. Use black and white filters if you want to go monochrome. Olympus cameras have several ways of adjusting or affecting the black and white image by using the black and white filters that are built in. And these are very handy because black and white photography, like I said on this video, in most cases you need some black and white filters to make colors differentiate from each other. Let's say like red and blue, not blue, but red and green are exactly the same color in black and white. And having different color filters will make those colors look a bit different. Yellow filter is a very good filter for general photography because it will darken the blue and make clouds and the blue sky, the contrast, it will make it a bit bigger contrast on that. And that's a really good way. And a pro tip for this one, you can also use black and white filters in Olympus Workspace. So if you haven't used any filters when photographing monochrome or black and white, then you can apply the filters later in Olympus Workspace. And it's a very handy tool for many things, Olympus Workspace I mean. And if you don't have it, go download it and give it a try. It's a very good image editing software to start, and use these special modes like picture modes and black and white filters if you're using an Olympus camera. And then a pro tip number 2. Like I said, the yellow filter is one of those like a general filters. You can set that up automatically so that you have a custom picture mode. Just choose monochrome and choose the filter that you use, and most common is yellow filter. And then you have the custom picture mode that you can use. If you want to use black and white, you just use the custom picture mode and you're good to go. You have the yellow filter there by default. Then another tip about photography. ND filters are used to block light to get more or get a longer exposure on your images. But the same effect can be used without an ND filter. And this time I don't mean live ND. Okay, what you do is you make a burst of images. I burned myself. What you do is you make a burst of images of, let's say, a moving water, and then you combine them and blend them in Photoshop. And this is the way to do it. And as you can see from the image, it's pretty close to the real ND filter, if you had used a real ND filter. And here is a video about black and white photography if you're interested in that. But hey, thanks for watching and bye for now.